And for example, monosaturated fats like avocados, coconut oil, olive oil,
macadamia nut oil, they're all really actually good for you. And
nuts. Nuts are so good for you. We're nuts about nuts.
We're crazy about them.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks. What a great turnout. Our last happy hour gathering before the holidays. And I'm loving Diane's holiday imagery behind her. We've got really special guests to share some information for you all as Mountain Trek guests. We've got Shari and Judi. I don't know if you can see them in the screen right now. They have their heads together like a beautiful heart. Aww. With their hair parting out from both sides. Shari and Judi have written a few books, and they've been doing a lot of research on nutrition and health. And the most recent book has been around supporting brain health, especially around dementia. And you all know we've talked about that in Mountain Trek, how important it is to eat well for the brain and the body. But we're going to get a lot of extra new information from both of them tonight. And I just want to say that we're going to outline it by, I'll do basically a little intro about our perspective on dementia, then Judi and Shari will introduce themselves, and then we'll have a discussion. And we're going to go through basically the 5 pillars of Mountain Trek's balanced health. And they're going to offer a tip or two under each of the pillars, except nutrition. They're going to drill down deeper and give maybe 4 or 5 tips that could help you as we continue to age to look after dietarily our brain health so we can avoid things like dementia. And then we'll finish with about a 10-minute Q&A. So if any questions bubble up for you during their presentation, you can save them or you could chat them in, and then Alex will bring them up during the Q&A, and that way they can give us all the tips as they flow through the 5 paths of health. So dementia. We've had a few gatherings and we've been talking about mental health and mindfulness, and we've been talking about being present and about the research on our ability to stay focused or our concentration levels and all of that, and how we can be productive at work. But the big one that's kind of waiting for a large population of us right now, the end game. What's going to happen for us in terms of our mental health with both circulatory or synaptic dementia? Now, it could either be across the synapses where we blow the circuitry, or it can be the blood vessels that run to the parts of the brain that get clogged with plaque. Both of them have to do with inflammation ultimately. And as you know, the 5 pillars of health that we go for: nutrition, exercise, stress management to manage those hormones, cortisol, big inflammatory hormone when it's ongoing, sleep hygiene, which helps with flushing everything out so that we can lower inflammation, and then detoxification, which of course is helping pull all the inflammatory, at least the bio waste of it, out of the body. These all come together to counter inflammation. And inflammation is, for about 90% of us, the root of all of our illnesses, unfortunately, including dementia. Yeah. So I'm going to pass it over to Shari and Judi and ask you guys to just give a little story about what you've been doing, where you come from, and how you got into creating a book on brain health for countering dementia.
Okay, well, we started.
First of all, yes, this is Judi and I'm Shari. And if you can't tell the difference, don't worry. Our parents can't either.
So don't worry. Yes, exactly. So basically, we got into this particular book. This is our 7th book on health and nutrition and natural foods cooking. When our mother was diagnosed with dementia, she was our inspiration, not just for writing the book, also for the cooking part, because she was like a horrible cook.
The world's worst.
But so it was survival on writing these recipes. But the reason why we started writing the book is because our mother was diagnosed about 10 years ago with dementia. And we went to the doctor with her because she was very scared because she wasn't remembering things and she was frightened. So we went with her, we took tests and everything. And they told us that this dementia was environmentally induced.
It was not genetic.
because there's different parts. There are genetics with Alzheimer's and you can affect that. But anyway, so what we did is we did some research on it and found out what was our mother doing. And we realized she was doing everything, unfortunately, that could cause dementia.
Or increase her chances of getting dementia. Dementia is not normal. It does not need to happen. I mean, there's one thing about forgetting your keys or forgetting an item on a grocery list, but when it affects your daily life, then it can be very serious. And usually when it's genetic, it's before the age of 65. After the age of 65, it's usually
increases your chances of getting dementia. So what our goal was, because dementia is a thief. It took our mother away from us. We didn't want anybody to ever suffer from this again. So with our degrees in nutrition and physical education, we researched this and we found helpful information that can help everybody to prevent cognitive decline. And that's important.
So if we take a journey around Mountain Trek's approach of the 5 paths of health, and we save nutrition for the end, because I know your book has recipes for brain health, and let's touch into, say, what could people do for exercise? And before we go there, when you said doesn't happen, it's not natural for everyone to get it, I've even learned that there's some countries in the world where it's just not an issue. Is that true?
Yes, it is. And there's certain countries in the world, for example, that have the lowest incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia. For example, India. Ironically, they think that because of certain herbs, the turmeric, the curry that's used in it can reduce inflammation and reduce the chances of getting it. So that's, a whole nother topic like that. But we centered our book around the mind diet. This was research done by Rush University that could decrease your chances by 53% of getting dementia. And basically that mind diet stands for
Mediterranean Intervention Neurodegenerative Delay.
And it basically has your green leafy vegetables.
Let's wait for the nutrition for a second.
Okay, wait, hold on.
I want you to help, through your research, give our Mountain Trek alumni something that they could do. Say, let's start with exercise.
Okay, we'd love to do that. In fact, you know what? This is a great point, Kirk. The number one way to reduce your chances of getting dementia is simply to exercise.
50%.
I heard just walking, not even like specific workouts. Just
Mountain Trek is an amazing resort, I'm sure, and we just would love to go there. And we've done some research on it, and it's very impressive. But one of the things we're going to say is that we were discussing this the other day, that after dinner, just taking a little walk afterwards, it's not like major exercise or whatever, but it's good for the brain, it's good for the body and digestion.
Right.
And we have a correlation with gut health and brain health.
And also we have found through our research that if people can exercise more in the morning, it's like a cup of coffee. You get that circulation going, you get the, it's so good.
More energy for the day, throughout the day.
Right.
So if we go from exercise, and that's great, after dinner walk, definitely lowers inflammation, because if we fall asleep digesting, it creates inflammation, right?
And you notice that also when you eat a lot late at night, you have trouble sleeping. Yeah. Sleeping is a really important part of
sleep. What's one thing people could do for their sleep to help lower inflammation and work on lowering the potential of dementia?
I would say the number one thing is don't eat too late at night and exercise earlier.
And also with that too in mind is we all have circadians, which are our body rhythms, and getting in a routine.
Into a routine.
If you get in a routine where you go to bed at relatively the same time every night and get up at
the body thanks you. It loves it.
And it's helpful.
So I know you just asked for one, but there's two of us, so we're going to give you two tips.
Yeah, you're going to get two.
Sorry about that.
2 tips out of everything.
Okay, double the pleasure.
Thank you.
So we've got exercise now, a couple of tips, and we've got sleep.
Yes.
How about anything you found out in your research around detoxification?
Well, first of all, we dry brush every morning, and it's important that circulation, it's a simple thing that somebody can do every morning, starting from going from your feet all the way up and your body and your arms and your legs. It's just kind of gets the circulation going.
That's number one.
Detoxify.
And also every morning we have warm lemon water. It's amazing the detoxification, the purification that can do for the body. And we also, I think it's important. People don't realize even when they get headaches, how important it is to drink water.
Water.
Absolutely.
Pure water.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple as
It's
that.
helping flush everything out.
Yes. And also massage. We do believe in massage is really good.
In the lymph gland, the whole lymphatic drainage. Yes. So we believe that. That's simple things. And of course, exercise too. It goes
Right, that goes back again.
To
Okay.
detoxify.
So helping everything flush out of the body, increasing circulation, all of that lower inflammation, right?
Yes, that's right. It's all about that.
And there are certain supplements that also add to that. Like we talked about turmeric, which is excellent, and certain herbs like garlic is excellent too.
Yeah.
And
like,
even
that's
green
Italian
tea.
penicillin.
Yeah.
Right.
So now our last pillar would be stress. From our perspective, stress tends to be basically mismanaging our hormones. So then we end up with cortisol high, and then that pushes down our melatonin at night. We don't feel tired, and then it steals progesterone for women, and then estrogen, progesterone out of balance. And basically when cortisol's up with stress day after week after month after year, our adrenals go into fatigue, but our immune system shuts down, and we start to create more inflammation. Is there anything around the stress that you could help our guests?
First of all, let's all take a deep, wonderful breath.
Yes. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth.
Because even when we have a 93-year-old father that we take care of who does not have dementia, and his mind is working well. And whenever he gets stressed out, I look at him and I go, Dad, I want you to take a deep breath for a second, because you're getting way too stressed out by this. Okay. And also, I heard something the other day that I thought was really good. And maybe it's an old saying, but I think people get stressed out, but other people, it's like, what people think of you is none of your business. It's like, I think people need to not worry about what other people think of them. We need to stay really positive, because when you get stressed, you get depressed and you turn into a mess. Seriously.
I know. And also the whole idea of stress, it does take a toll on the body and accumulate over time. I think we have to have a mental conversation with ourselves when we start to feel that anxiety or that depression or coming on. Say don't, or stop. Just stop it because there's nothing productive that comes out of worrying. There's absolutely nothing.
Right. It's kind of the way also with fear. Fear is a very destructive way of thinking.
We exercise every day. And when I go running in the morning, I do positive affirmations. And one of my positive affirmations is, I'm fearless. I am fearless. I am healthy. I am strong.
It's like positive affirmations.
And it really, after a while, you start believing it. And I think if you do it, because the mind is so powerful with the stress, we can start making ourselves sick, because this is a really crazy world we live in. Right. And with the whole COVID and everything, you can start thinking the minute you cough of, do I have something? And you start stressing out.
You get paranoid.
And get panicky. It's just not healthy. You got to take a step back and acknowledge your thoughts and say, how can I make this better? Talk to yourself. We all do it.
And also, here's my tip. Center yourself around positive people. Because I'll tell you right now, a depressed, stressed person can bring down a happy person. But a happy person cannot bring up a depressed person. So I say, center yourself around really positive, happy people, because most of the time, happy people don't get dementia, really, because you know what? They're so happy. They're not worried about it.
There is a direct link with depression and dementia too.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. Did you ever come across the blue zones and their studies on centenarian populations around the world, and how most of them are even doing kind of the diet you're going to be talking about next. Yep. But they also have they have a few things that help their mind then rewire the brain. One is purpose. The other one is community. And with those two things, that sense that we know who we are, what our gifts are, and we're giving them to the world, we don't tend to get as depressed or
Kirk, excuse me for interrupting, but you've got a real good point there. That community, again, people don't realize how important is socialization. This is a way to also prevent dementia.
Absolutely.
Social interaction, that's very important. The sense of community, the sense of purpose. People live longer when they feel they have a purpose in life. I always feel my father, he's still working at 93 because every day he wakes up with a purpose in life.
Yeah.
Find something that inspires you, because
Right.
it really helps.
And I mean, as corny as it sounds, love is an incredible energy and inspiration in life too.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, it's attitudinal, and it's those attitudes of positivity, affirmations, noticing our thoughts and asking ourselves, are they serving us? All of those things then start
Attitude and gratitude.
Attitude and gratitude.
Yes. So there's 4 of our paths. Now let's dive into where you really focused your research into the nutritional side. And what can you share with us? Maybe 4 or 5 things that you think are doable for most people that they could weave into their life, maybe 2 of those 4 or 5 things, because we're all so different, that could make a difference towards brain health.
Okay, first of all, when we talked about the mind diet, which we centered around it, which is ours is a little bit more plant-based because it does allow fish and chicken. But one of the things that people don't realize, and diabetics are more aware of this, is a thing called AGEs, which is called advanced glycation end products. And they said that it's better. This is a tip for people who do eat meat, we say, maybe make it not as much, but cook it with moist heat opposed to dry heat, not so much grilling or browning. And then also, if they can, once they make the meat, put anything acidic on it, lemon, vinegar, or tomato-based product, because it lowers the chances of AGEs in the body by 50%. And right there. So the advanced glycation end products, that's one thing that's a tip that's very important.
And
because
it's
it does
bad for the brain.
It's bad for the brain.
So is the AGA part of plaque buildup?
Yes. Well, it affects the neurotransmitters. Like, for example,
right. And the insulin level.
Here's another thing that we're going to tell you too. That's a really important tip. All fats are not created equal. Back in the 20, 30 years ago, everybody was on a low fat diet. To compensate for that, we ended up getting too much sugar and salt and everything for flavor. And the irony was had obesity was at a highest rate as it ever been, and we were on these low fat diets. And for example, monosaturated fats like avocados, coconut oil, olive oil,
macadamia nut oil, they're all really actually good for you.
And nuts. Nuts are so good for you. We're nuts about nuts.
We're crazy about them. Yes. So we love nuts.
Yeah. And, I just feel that it's really important to understand that because, for example, in coconut oil, there's this thing called MCTs in it. And they found in people that had Alzheimer's and dementia, they had very low amounts of the MCTs. And what happens is that we want to increase that when they found it in their brains. So it's really important.
I think that also the one thing that the mind diet, which is what we base it around, says the foods to avoid are, and these are just foods to avoid, or not have as much, because we all have sweet tooths and we all like certain foods, but it's meat, it's pastries, it's fried foods, it's dairy because of the saturated fats, and butter, and alcohol, because alcohol.
What about sugar? You didn't mention
sugar. Well, sugar
and
in the pastries,
and the processed foods.
And the processed
foods.
And I also feel like,
but that's real important.
You know how we said the number one tip of decreasing your chance of getting dementia is exercise? We're going back that. Well, you know what the worst thing a person could possibly do to increase their chances of getting dementia is smoking. Now, I know it's a given. By 80%. And also, for example, here's another takeaway too, when we talk about just food that we're ingesting, but also prescription drugs.
Yes.
One of the things, our mother always had sinus problems. And so she was always taking those anticholinergic drugs, for example, Benadryl.
Anticholinergic drugs. Anything that has the word anti in front of it, question it. Antihistamines, antibiotics, antidepressants. Our mother, we found out, because we went in her cabinet, there were a ton of sleeping pills in there, Ambien. This is not good for the brain, okay? We're talking about how important sleep is. Find another way naturally to do, even if it's chamomile tea at night. It aids digestion. There are other ways. Work out enough that you're tired at night. I don't know, but stay away from
we have a thing called the 7 brain boosting food groups. And
Well, let Kirk ask.
Okay. Do you want to
Yeah,
know
no, tell us about
Okay.
something that
Would
you could
you like
add
to know
add
about-
Okay,
into
well, it's
the diet.
cruciferous vegetables like your cabbage, your bok choy, and those type of. They help with free radicals in the brain. They help, just prevent destruction of neurons in the brain.
And the leafy greens, your romaine, your spinach, all of those ones.
Seeds and nuts, which we love, and then you can get your DHA from that, because a lot of people say, okay, can I have my fish? Yeah, your fish is good. It's high in omega-3s and DHAs. But the problem is a lot of the oceans are polluted and there's mercury in that. And so there's a thing called biomagnification. And this is what biomagnification is. The fish eats the mercury and you eat the fish and the mercury goes in you.
And what you're getting, the DHA and that you want for the brain is really coming from the algae and the seaweed that the fish are eating. So we go for the direct source of supplement of the DHA and the EPA. So that's what we're using.
Right. So then there's fruits, grapes, and berries. Now they have what they call resveratrol, which is excellent, anti-inflammatory. It's really great for the body. Some people say, well, then can I have lots of red wine? Because there's lots of resveratrol.
Our mom loved the red wine.
Yeah, so one glass a day was the size of an aquarium.
Yeah.
Okay, that was another thing. Yes, in moderation, okay? But you can get your resveratrol from
and
grapes.
Beans and legumes, they help assimilate in the body slowly, great for the brain.
And then there's olives, coconut oil, macadamia oil. We talked about that, avocados. And then, of course, brain spices. We talked about turmeric.
Yeah, tell us about some spices or adaptogens or mushrooms, anything in that kind of condiment.
Like black pepper, for example, has piperine in it. And it is so good for the brain. And when mixed with turmeric, it's awesome. It's even better.
It's more effective.
And also green tea, which are the antioxidant. It's, what we've also found.
Well, there's adaptogens, right. You say it much better than I do. But I was going to say is that, for example, there are certain herbs that people say that are very, whether it be ginkgo biloba or whatever that's called exactly. Ginger, and also
cinnamon,
astragalus. And I mean, there's just a lot of things that help with the immune system, even golden seal, echinacea. It used to be when people get sick, they would take zinc, vitamin C, and golden seal and echinacea. And I still believe in those a lot. Right. Anything they can do naturally to keep your immune system up.
Yeah.
Are we overwhelming you?
Can you feel that energy? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Really?
Yes. We're just so excited about the topic.
We're so passionate. This is our 7th published book. Our first book came out when we were 16.
And How to Survive Snack Attacks Naturally. And it sold over 20,000 copies. And we used to say we don't even have that many relatives.
Yeah.
And so we just have been passionate about this. And it's so much fun for us to talk about it and to share it with everybody at Mountain Trek.
Well, let's see if there's any questions that anyone wants to ask you, because you just downloaded a whole file for everybody. And let's see if anything else percolates up.
Okay.
Great. Anybody want to hit their space bar?
At this point, I haven't exactly opened the chat yet to Q&A, but I know there's some hungry people out there in the audience, no pun intended.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kim.
Hi, great presentation. Thank you. That was a lot, but I got it all.
Thanks, Kim.
Heart rate with exercise. I actually just talked yesterday and today to two different cardiac surgeons inquiring about high heart rates. I used to be a marathon runner, and I'm sure a lot of people, hit training and so on, get your heart rate high. But I've seen both sides of it, but do you think it creates inflammation in the body? Because there's some new literature that talks about.
Wow, that's a good question.
Okay.
We both have good answers for that.
We've been runners almost all of our lives.
I heard you say runner. That's why.
Yes.
And we also we run, swim, and walk every single day. Okay. And one of the things that we found is that getting the heart rate up too high, it's like, I hate to say almost anything that you do extreme, why, and especially as we get older, why push yourself so hard? I mean, I look at it when I go running every morning, it's like, I got one foot in front of me. I'm doing good.
Well, I think you have to be comfortable, but the only place that I can say is that you listen to your body. When some days you're going to go faster than other days, some days you'll go slower. But I think if it goes really extreme, really, really hard, you have a higher chance of getting injuries too.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think the most important thing about an elevated heart rate is pregnant women. They can, seriously, if they get their heart rate too high, they can get dizzy, they can get faint. So they have to be careful on that. So moderating their heart rate.
Right.
But I would say that that's a good question, and that I think you just need to listen to your body, and you know when you're going hard and then step back. I mean, there was intervals when running, it was called fartlek running.
Right,
You'd do
exactly.
intervals, and then you'd go fast, and then you'd go slow. And so I think it's important to just listen to your body. I would say that anything too hard is not too great.
Right.
Too hard for too long is just stress. So
Right.
we believe in hiking as such a great exercise because you're going up and you're working hard. You might get it to 7.5 out of 10, and then you get a little top break and then down a little bit and then back up. So intervals is where we get a burst and then a rest, and it keeps everything changing. Otherwise, even if you keep it up really high, the heart, it'll create stress and you'll be in an anaerobic state possibly.
Yes.
And
And you
there's
know,
more waste products and more inflammation.
Yeah.
So anaerobic bursts once in a while mixed with intervals of walking or swimming and mixing it up.
I think also for us, for example, we started swimming both when we got pregnant. It really helped us. But I think that it's a great cross trainer. You know, I think one of the reasons that we don't have any knee injuries or hip injuries is because we don't go so hard. I mean, yes, when we were in high school and we broke records, we went really hard and pushed ourselves.
Swimming is the only exercise that gravity is not involved in, and it can all ages. So swimming is actually excellent for the body. It's kind of a positive cross training. It's great for the back.
And even yoga, getting that fresh breath of air,
Yes.
and hiking, I say just move.
Oh, when we talked about stress too, meditation. Do we put that in there? I think that's important, even if you can't do it, you know?
Let's take another question before we're getting close to the end of our.
No.
The questions are starting to flood in. So I'll start you guys off with an easy one. You mentioned seasoned nuts and that they're beneficial. Can you elaborate on that or clarify?
Well, first of all, seasoned nuts, you have chia seeds and flax seeds, which are really good for you.
And walnuts are extremely high in the omega
3s, which are so good for the brain, and high, and it's a good fats. And usually, like for example, pistachios are great for the heart. And if they're good for the heart, they're usually good for the brain.
Also, pistachios and peanuts are high in resveratrol, which we talked about earlier. So yes.
And walnuts are excellent for the brain. I mean, there's certain nuts.
I like the taste of toasted nuts and stuff, but if you get them raw, what we do is a couple of tablespoons of chia seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds,
and soak them
overnight and put them in the refrigerator.
And they become more
out the vitamin content in them. But I do like toasted nuts, so I'm not going to lie about that.
But you keep it on a low heat because we don't want the AGEs.
Right.
I'd add one more seed in there, and that would be hemp seed. That's something that we like to use in our smoothies, and it's again fiber and a big omega-3 source.
Oh, hemp seeds are excellent. Yes, thank you for adding that.
We have some clarification from the audience, and I was a little bit off here. Seeds and nuts is what we're talking about, not seasoned nuts.
Okay. Right, there we go.
But I want to make a comment about that. That's very important, Alex. Buy seasonally if you can. I remember because one of the things I always love the lectures here because I've been watching them online, and one of them was on superfoods. And I'll tell you something about a superfood. A superfood becomes even more of a superfood if you're buying it seasonally, if you're buying it locally, if you can't go to your farmers markets.
Also, we talk about buying organic, how important it is because there's so many pesticides and glyphosate that's in things that's really bad for the brain. But if you're, for example, it's not seasoned and you're getting blueberries that are imported from somewhere, by the time it gets to the United States and then on the shelves, you're losing a lot of the nutritional value. So
there's even some things, if you don't have a backyard for a garden, we sprout. You can have a sprout jar and you can sprout alfalfa sprouts, broccoli sprouts. So it's putting the living in the living. I mean, just a thought.
Yeah, we do that. My husband's really into it because, you know, he's from Minnesota. And when we met, he grew up on meat and potatoes and basically junk food. And it's like, okay.
Potatoes are good for you.
Yeah, well, I was the girlfriend from California that just fit that mold of crazy health nut, you know? So it was good.
You still are.
Could I ask a question? And I noticed one of the guests have asked that. What's a recipe that you would offer out? What's a dinner recipe that would be something that you would say includes some heart health aspects to it?
Well, wait, you know what? I just happened to write a bunch of these down. Okay.
Oh, the
wait,
memory
I have to
guy.
write them all down because there's so many. So excuse me for going to notes and stuff here, but when we're looking at recipes, I started writing down some of my favorites. And for example, I like the cauliflower curry soup because we actually put some diced Granny Smith apples in there, and the curry is great with the turmeric. It's great for the brain. I love the sesame orange soba noodles. Soba noodles are made with buckwheat just because it has wheat in it. Wheat is gluten-free. So the neat thing about, and Alex, thank you for holding that excellent book, The Memory Diet, more than 150 healthy recipes for the proper care and feeding of your brain. The reason why I say that is they're all gluten-free, sugar-free, and plant-based. And also, if I go back to people who do eat meat, it's fine, like we talked about, if you do moist heat with it. But if you add fruits and vegetables to it, you're adding the fiber to it. And so it makes it more digestible and better for your gut health too. And we didn't even get into supplements about probiotics and all that kind of stuff, but we can, another talk.
Oh, you know what?
I'm not done yet. Okay, I really love the pumpkin pecan muffins. I love the pistachio cheesecake, which is a raw cheesecake. It's not, you don't have to bake that. It's dairy free.
I know you were talking about main meals, but
we're into food. We're so into food.
Yeah, obviously, we have written 7 cookbooks.
I like the pinto patties. That's a really great thing. It's like pinto beans. It's got sunflower seeds in it. It's
cumin, and it's got a really great flavor.
Great flavor, because the thing about Shari and I is that we don't want to sacrifice flavor for anything.
No, we don't want to eat anything that tastes like cardboard. We're not interested in that.
No, not at all.
And but I do love carob brownies too.
Oh, the carob brownies. Carob brownies. Let's bring carob back. It's high in protein. It's high in fiber. It's naturally sweet.
We like all those things. I love our granola too. It's good.
Yeah, we have even a grain-free granola too in there too. Yeah, there's a lot
that
of.
That all sounds fantastic, and in quite a bit in line with Mountain Trek. Alex, any other questions that?
Yeah, we have a few more. I would like to elaborate on that a little bit, because a good portion of our guests tonight are Mountain Trek alum. And so they're very familiar with our nutrition plan. It'd be good to highlight some of the differences and similarities at a very high level between what we would typically feed our guests at the retreat and what they might pull out of your cookbook. And Kirk, I think you'll be able to interject here as well.
Well, maybe I'll just offer our perspective to Shari and Judi. Basically, we're plant-centric in that a typical lunch or dinner would be 3/4 plant and 1/4 protein. And that 1/4 would be about the size of your palm without your fingers and thumbs, so about 4 to 5 ounces. And you could be an omnivore and put fish on that as your quarter, or you could be refried beans, or you could be tempeh. It could be any number of proteins.
Quinoa, which is complete protein.
And we go around the circle, around the world with our proteins. But in terms of animal proteins, we always use grass-fed or wild, because we know that the saturated fats that come with animal proteins that are grain-fed are going to create more inflammation.
Yes.
So if we can go for the grass-fed, even if it's a small piece, it's going to have less saturated fats in it.
And antibiotic-free and all those other things.
Real components. We really believe in organic. And even when it comes to like organic meats, like you said, but organic, if people want it, the prices will go down. Some people go, oh, organic's expensive, but you know what's more expensive? Medical bills. When you're sick and you've been eating junk food or you're not eating healthy. But I do want to say about organic produce, we also eat organic because we know that the farmers and the people in the field are harvesting it. They're not getting sick either, because people have gotten very, very sick
from these pesticides.
From the pesticides, glyphosate that's in Roundup, and all the GMO products, soy and corn especially. That's a whole other topic, because we've written books on allergy-free cooking. And so we had to do a lot of research on that.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
So do you feel that what I just described for lunch and dinner is close to what would
I think it sounds really fantastic.
Except and I think you're really we are both vegetarians and we have plant-based, but we
would have picked the pinto beans on the side.
Yes.
But and definitely
we believe in the plant kingdom to get as many colors as possible. So we have many antioxidants and micronutrients and phytochemicals and minerals and vitamins as possible, rather than just sticking to potatoes and peas.
We love it. I mean, and who wants overcooked vegetables too? I mean,
I know.
we
I
like
used to, when we were kids and somebody knew we were vegetarians and they would give us
brown rice and overcooked
no,
vegetables.
white rice.
White
with
rice.
overcooked limp things. I was like, I want something good tasting.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want something that looks horrible and tastes terrible.
Right. But I love our black bean and corn salad too. That's really good.
Yeah, the
too.
Southwest, black bean corn.
Alex, maybe one more question. How are we doing?
We're doing well. I think we've got a couple more here in the thread that we can get asked and answered. So we've got a couple questions on turmeric, and there's two different questions. So one is, how do you know that it's high quality? There's a lot of information out there that some turmeric is cut with some toxins, might contain heavy metals, something poisonous. How do you know? Is there a certain brand that you guys recommend? Are there certain things on the label that you look for?
Well, a lot of times when we go into some place like Whole Foods or any kind of health food store, Sprouts, whatever, a lot of times their brands, they will sit there and say organic or certified, or they'll have something on it. Because sometimes if you go to, say, a regular drugstore, it's like vitamins. They have a lot of fillers.
Right.
And
we don't really get our vitamins and supplements at a regular pharmacy or something like that. We go to Whole Foods, Sprouts, or Costco can sometimes have good quality. I think the brands, there's Paradise Brands, there's
New Chapter.
There's New Chapter. These are high-end vitamin supplement
and they stand
companies,
by
and they
their
stand
product.
by. Also, they have an 800 number on the back that you can ask them these questions. Many of the people that are in the nutrition departments of Whole Foods and organic, or not organic, but health-oriented places are very knowledgeable about it. And they have representatives that come there, so they can talk about this.
We always have a philosophy when it comes to food and supplements is read the label before it goes on your table. I mean, there's a lot of times you look at these labels and you'll find that they have some really, like propylene glycol. I mean, we don't need that.
Food.
I mean, that's something you put in a car.
And that's a whole nother topic too, about cosmetics and products we put on our bodies. We don't need the sodium lauryl sulfate. We don't need the propylene glycol. We don't need a lot of these chemicals that are being sapped up into our bodies from these products.
Yeah.
When you're looking at turmeric specifically, and you flip the bottle around, is there something on there that is a red flag?
That's a good question. When we buy it, we always buy the products that are organic, so I wouldn't be able to tell you that the red flag, because I'd have to call the company, because the way they process it, that would be what I would check. Because unless you know of a name,
or you're in a health supplement store and you start talking to the clerk, what do you ask? Do you just say what's a good turmeric?
What I say is I'm looking. Okay, it also sometimes people go for turmeric for the anti-inflammatory part, but there's also a thing called curcumin, which is the part that really is helpful in that. Some people want specifically for that. They're making so many different turmerics now, for turmeric for the heart, turmeric for the brain, turmeric for pain. So I think the best thing to do, if I was going to go into the health food store and I was going to ask about turmeric, I would say, could you tell me your purest turmeric? I would like to know what your purest turmeric is. And can you tell me anything about the companies? Because I see like 4 or 5 different companies that carry it. And why is this product better than that one? Right. And they're very knowledgeable.
And look at dosage too. Like sometimes you go in, you'll see something that'll say you need to take 4 of these capsules. Or I'm
kind of a simple person. I like to take 1 of something, not 5 during the day. Because you go, oh, wow, this is the same price. I get 120 here and I get 30 here.
But if you have to take 4 of them a day.
Yeah, I just got some new omega pills and I looked at the label and it said serving size is 3. And it's
right.
Yeah. I'm
going to table omegas because I want to come back to that personally. And I think everyone is interested in knowing about that at a very high level. I want to follow up on turmeric. So we have one other question there that says, how do you take it? What's the best way? What's the best frequency? Is it pills?
Okay, I'm going to tell you this because everybody's turmeric is different. I would read the directions. Follow the directions. If it says take with a meal, take with water, or you can take with, or they'll tell you, because that's going to be the best form of absorption, because they've made that product like that. So that's why it's so hard to generalize.
Like, for example, a lot of the things for you supplement the DHA or the oil-based, or like say evening primrose oil or some of that, you want to take with food because it assimilates much better in the system. Some of these herbs, like for example, you can take mushroom capsules or a probiotic and you can take it on an empty stomach usually, and you'll be fine and it'll get absorbed.
But a multivitamin and these type of supplements
Usually
should be
with
to
food.
food.
Because that's the way the body assimilates it. It takes it in and combines it with things. If it's just taken alone with a glass of water, it doesn't make the connections with other minerals, vitamins, phytonutrients to make the absorption happen.
Right.
So speaking with supplements, I heard a TED talk once, and you probably know the name of the doctor. My primary takeaway from that was take an omega-3 supplement every day. At Mountain Trek, we say put it in your nutrition plan. So one of your plates, we call them super plates, and we look at composition, not just calories. And we say, like Kirk was mentioning, for lunch, 3/4 vegetables, 1/4 protein, but we'll actually include a tiny little sliver there of omega-3s. So ideally you take it naturally through a food source, but taking it in a capsule is...
We want to say something about that because, like, for example, you can add a lot of turmeric to your food,
Correct.
and you're not going to get the amount you need actually in a supplement. So certain foods we do need to actually put as a supplement to be able to get the real benefits of it. So like vitamin D, definitely an omega-3. We take a DHA vegetarian source. We always take a multiple. We do take mushroom capsules every day
because it helps build our immunity
system up, especially during these crazy.
They're saying
times.
zinc is real important during this time too, or also whenever you get a cold. But zinc is also found in pumpkin seeds. It's found in spinach. It's found in a lot of different foods. But again, the supplements, I would say the multivitamin, a really good multivitamin, is important too.
Yeah.
Okay. So following up with that, the speaker of this TED Talk, his main takeaway was, at the very least, take an omega-3 supplement every day. How do you guys feel about that? Do you agree, disagree? Is that actually the very minimum, or should we be doing a lot more?
I think that if you want to say the very minimum, I would also say a probiotic. Gut health is really related to brain health. And I would also say that may be the bare minimum, but there's a lot of extra things too. Like, for example,
turmeric.
I'm going to use my husband. He likes tequila. I make sure he takes milk thistle because that helps with the liver, you know? So, I mean,
we're talking about the minimalists.
Yes.
Because I would think a multiple would be good, but if it might have the omega-3. I mean, this is what that doctor says. Every doctor has a different view. You kind of have to sift it out and see what works for you. But I would Shari, like with Shari, I do omega-3 and add a probiotic in there.
Yeah.
Okay, omega-3, add a probiotic, great.
And also I would say I'm a firm believer in turmeric and ginger every day. Both of those two. Ginger is so good for the digestion, and ginger is especially good. I'm going back. I know your beautiful wife is pregnant, but whenever I was pregnant,
she's very beautiful.
She is. I have twin sons because we have 5 straight generations of twins in our family. Yes, we're on a twinning streak.
Yeah.
But at any rate, when I was pregnant with my twin sons, I got nauseated, and the only thing that really helped me, other than crackers, natural crackers, was ginger capsules. And ginger does help with nausea and ginger. So that's really important. It's anti-inflammatory.
Right. I personally take a ginger every other day. I mean, you might take it every day.
I take it every day.
Maybe that's why you look so much better than me.
Thank you.
So it sounds like we're repeating ginger, turmeric, omega-3s.
Yes, and a good multiple.
Okay, I would add one last thing because it's not gotten minimal, but during COVID, especially right now, I've been doing vitamin D and vitamin C, and ester C that's assimilated in the body. I've been taking vitamin C every day, and and also just to keep your immune, and all the mushroom capsules. We really believe in that.
I got a question about that coming in right now. So lion's mane mushroom supplements.
Lion's mane. I haven't heard of that one. So that might be a good one. I mean,
it's an adaptogen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe you're going to have to answer for us, Kirk.
Kirk, you're on.
Well, I'm not going to say what it's going to do for a person, but one of the things that we say is go see a really good naturopathic doctor, not just a naturopath who's taken a 2-month online course, but someone who's got 7 years of training. They're a doctor. And then find out where your health has its ups and downs. Do some testing, find out where your hormonal level is, find out where your toxin level load is, and find out what food sensitivities you have, and then work and figure out which adaptogens and which herbs and supplements you need to augment your needs, because we're all different. We're all unique individuals.
Well, you know, with a little thing about the toxins and accumulation, little things about spices. I don't know if people, they can add this to the cilantro and parsley are from the same family, and they are very good on leaching out the toxins in the body.
Because
and
there's metals that accumulate in the brain, and that's what we want to take away and kind of pull away, but
prevent the amyloid plaque prevent
but
that
Kirk, you said something really important about going to a naturopathic doctor that has experience, but also possibly taking blood tests, because Judy's son, we've written 2 books also on allergy-free cooking, and he was getting horrible headaches. And he was right in his teenage years, and his complexion got really bad, and he really said, "Mom, I'm the cleanest person on earth, and I don't look like I am, and I'm really paranoid." So, and I even took him to medical doctors, but it wasn't until I got the blood test and found out he was gluten intolerant and dairy intolerant, casein and dairy. And the minute I took him off it, his complexion cleared up and his headaches went away. So this is why food can either help, be a medicine, heal or harm. So be aware of that kind of stuff,
Absolutely. And we also believe in doing the blood work, not just holding a little vial of some food substance and checking an electrical current through it. It's got to be done scientifically.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm going to do one last one, and it's going to segue into some closing statements from everyone. So we're talking about personalization, and I think that absolutely is vital. We're all different, every single one of us.
Even twins.
Are different. So what are your thoughts on personalized nutrition? Personally, I know I've seen nutrition plans that work off of your blood type even. At a high level, what are some of your thoughts on that topic? Just nutrition and personalization, how does it vary for each of us? And then I'll let you guys run as we end here with what are some takeaways? And it can be in this direction of personalization, but for everyone listening tonight, this was such a great knowledge source. And how do we take it home? What do we do next? And Kirk,
Alex, that's a great question. And I do believe that everybody's body is different. There are certain things that we can all do is incorporate more plant-based foods in our diet and this and that. Mm-hmm. But see, there are a lot of people that have food allergies. There are a lot of people with celiac disease. There are a lot of people. So if I tell people to eat seeds and nuts and they're highly allergic, because that's in the top 8 food allergens, that's why it's so important to have a personalization type of diet. From a general standpoint, again, which would, like we talk about in the memory diet, the cruciferous vegetables, the fruits, But
I think most importantly, I don't want to interrupt you, my wonderful sister, but I'm very good at it. I wanted to tell you that one of the things that's really, really important is that we know our bodies better than anybody. We are our best doctors, seriously. We could go there and we could talk to a doctor, we can talk to a nutritionist, but we know what doesn't work with us and what makes us feel bad. Sometimes we eat a food and the next day we feel horrible, but we just love it so much we keep on eating it. So I had ice cream one day and I don't normally have it, but I definitely got congested from it. We all know, honestly, our bodies better. And that's the thing of getting in tune with it. So we definitely believe in personalization. And that personalization diet also goes for some people who feel like they have allergies. They tell them to go off the food and see if the rashes come, because people who have allergies also have eczema, higher chances of rashes and eczema and stuff like that. But I do believe that there are personalized diet plans, and there are dietitians out there and there are nutritionists out there. But again, what Shari said is you kind of are in tune with your body. The more in tune you get, certain foods don't work for you. Like I always, whenever I don't snore, but if I purr at night, I'll tell my husband I had dairy. It's the dairy's fault. You snore. So, no.
And I think really what you're saying with that personalization is journal. or bring mindfulness into what we're doing so that we can, rather than just being a conveyor belt of taking in calories and expending them, let's notice how we feel after a meal. Let's notice how we feel after our sleep. Let's notice what mucus is coming, or bloating, or any of the symptoms, including all the way to skin rashing, that could come from some food that's stimulating us in a way that doesn't work for our body. So mindfulness is at the root of making it individualized.
Well, Kirk, I think this is real important. That's a whole nother topic, but mindfulness when it comes to food, mindfulness when it comes to stress, mindfulness to be in tune with that. That is a tremendous takeaway, being mindful.